Hello, I'm here to make my opinions on the meeting of the Board of Supervisors for September 23rd, 2019. There are a couple issues I'd like to cover before you can view the video. The first one has to deal with Wolf Roofing Company. On September 9th, we issued approval for a contract where they provided a bid of $120,000 to fix our roof on the Four Seasons room at the Ready Country Club. They did not take this out to bid. They said that Wolf Roofing was on a approved vendor list, and they felt that it wasn't necessary to get 3 bids. I wasn't allowed to speak at the meeting, of course. Most of us are not allowed to enter into these discussions. But I felt that at $120,000, it was prudent to get 3 bids. But our business-savvy Board of Supervisors felt differently about it. That was September 9th. Now here we are, we're going to look at the meeting for September 23rd. And we discover that Wolf Roofing is coming back and telling us that they need another $94,000 to do the job properly. So that puts the total job cost at over $214,000. What changed? Well, interestingly, they looked at the area where the water was seeping through the roof and discovered damage below the roof leaking area, which shouldn't be a surprise, and you have to wonder why didn't they check that in the beginning. Most roofing companies, I think, would. And I questioned why we didn't take this out to 3 bids. And one of the reasons, again, was because it's on the approved vendors list, which doesn't negate the fact that you could go out and get 2 other bids, but they decided not to do that. And I think it's disingenuous to the residents of this community to do something like that. You have to question the integrity of the board. You have to wonder if there's any kind of slight, maybe some dollars being handed off on the side for this, because obviously the job was lowballed. And the second reason they gave when they passed the $94,000 additional cost was that it's costly because of the prevailing wage, okay? Well, there's another factor that enters into this, because as all of you know, except the Board of Supervisors, that there are 3 components to any cost. Anything you look at, whether it's a TV, a chair, an automobile, there are 3 components of cost. Material, obviously, labor, and then there's overhead. So what is overhead? Overhead is the personnel in the office, the secretary, the accountant, the electricity in the office, maybe the warehouse if they have a warehouse, vehicles that they use to transport their material to the job, transport their employees to the job. Anything that's not material or direct labor is overhead. And when you go out to get 3 bids, you would expect that all 3 bids would be different, because each company has different overhead costs. And many places where I worked, many places that I counseled, worked with business people, sometimes just as helping a friend out that's in business, we always suggest that you set a certain ceiling. So if you have a job that costs $5,000, maybe you give it to someone on the approved vendor list. Otherwise, in excess of $5,000, you would go out and get 3 bids. It's just a smart thing to do. It's, as Mr. Cusatis says, the business savvy thing to do. So think about this, put your thinking caps on, ask yourself if you agree with what I've said. I mean, imagine that it's your home and the first contractor says $120,000, and you just take the first offer, and then you find out that it's going to cost you more. I mean, it's just prudent to get 3 bids on almost all the things that we do, especially for the Running Country Club. So I think they failed to do this. There's a number of reasons why. They're lazy, they're young, they don't know what they're doing, they don't want to take any advice. I mean, you can't speak up and say, well, wouldn't it be more prudent to get 3 bids instead of 1? But I talked to some people and I asked them about Wolf Roofing Company, and they basically said I wouldn't use them. That's their opinion. My opinion is, for the process, it is not a good process, and they continue to do things that push the envelope on believability as far as managing our community. It simply doesn't make sense. The second issue I'd like to talk about that is in this particular meeting is that the board assigned Mr. Granger, John Granger again, to handle the sewer easements that need to be identified and some kind of legal issues that need to be followed up on. This is a guy who is ethically challenged. He's provided the community with financial information that he admitted in a video was inaccurate, claiming that the board made him do it. I don't think anyone could make me go against my ethical beliefs, but this guy who's working for us in our community really provided false and misleading financial information regarding the Running Country Club. He also, we discovered, has a limited liability corporation, which no one knew about, called BG Wastewater Management Associates. He's the treasurer, and Steve Babylon is the president. BG standing B for Babylon, G for Granger. So it's associated with the wastewater treatment plants. No one ever knew this. And now he's dealing with the sewer easements. I consider this a severe conflict of interest. And yet the board, in their infinite wisdom, assigned Mr. Granger to handle this detail. And let's remember now, he also was assigned to be the grievance officer. The police report to him, and now that they have an issue, that he's also the grievance officer, which as I feel as well as a conflict of interest. And I guess the Board of Supervisors, they just don't get it. They make decisions that defy logic. And I want you to remember that we have 2 supervisors that are going to be running for election in November. And that's Vincent Biancone and Jeff Anderton. And as you watch the videos, this video and previous videos, you will see, with the nonsense that Mr. Cusatis creates, none of them, neither one, challenges it. In fact, they promote it and support what's going on here. And I think these 2 issues I just described really point all of this out. And then you'll see at the beginning of the meeting, there's no one making comments, public comments about the agenda or anything on the agenda. That's because they put these comment periods at the beginning where sometimes we're not quite sure what the agenda item is all about, but we're prevented from commenting on it when it actually comes up for discussion. And at the end of this meeting, you will see a group of people at the general public comment section that were here before, several months ago. They're here again for the same thing. They have some off-road bikers who are making excessive noise next to their homes, and they're back again. Apparently, Mr. Granger and Mr. Cusatis never followed up on it, or if they did follow up on it, they decided that there was no solution. But as you listen to the people talking, you'll find out that they think they've discovered a solution, and it lies in the zoning for this particular piece of property, which is not, I think they claim, is not zoned for these vehicles to be running around and doing their things. So we'll see what happens. Mr. Granger has promised to look into it, and maybe he'll finally do something about it. And this falls into the issues with what Mr. Hoover brought up about the fact that the board never follows up on their issues. They never report back to the board on the results of issues that they were asked to take to task. And if you look at the meeting minutes for every month almost, there is no manager's report. What is he doing? Because he's not coming back and telling us the results of past issues. And we'll go into that a little bit deeper in future videos. So finally, the last thing I'd like to talk about is one of the agenda items related to the Berks Hometown Heroes charity. Mr. Cusatis was sitting there and started the conversation about the Berks Hometown Heroes, that they've been exempt from the permit fee in past years, that it's a wonderful organization, and they're going to be providing fireworks at the homecoming football game, and they expect to set off fireworks after each touchdown that Exeter makes, and then after the game they're going to have some fireworks. Well, this is fine. This is a really nice event. Sounds like I love fireworks. Most people do, as long as they don't go on for 5 hours. And it seems that it's a reasonable time period, so no problem. So why am I talking about this? Well, you'll see in the slide that follows my comments, 2 slides. One, a letter from the IRS. I hope you can read that. And then the clip that out of the meeting video that I'm going to discuss right now, you'll see it again when you watch the meeting, has Mr. Cusatis discussing it. Various other supervisors discuss this, waiving of the permit fee. And then it's Mr. Cusatis asks for a motion to vote on the request for the permit waiver, and he asked them to vote. So there were 3 ayes and 1 abstention. You hear it at the very end of this clip. Mr. Cusatis says, and I abstain. Very quickly. The problem with all this, and I talked to a couple people that were at the meeting and they weren't aware of this situation, but Mr. Cusatis is the president of Berks Hometown Heroes. He's not only the president, he owns this charity. It is a private foundation. I don't know, maybe he's trying to be like the Clintons, who knows? But it's a private foundation. He owns it, and what he did in this meeting is basically dishonest, deceitful, by not telling us his involvement with his charity. And he should have recused himself. Now, don't get me wrong, I think what the activity is fine. I'm not speaking about that. I'm speaking about our supervisor who wasn't honest enough or comfortable enough to tell us that he was the guy behind all this. He deceived us. And where's the transparency that he's always talking about? It certainly wasn't there in this meeting. And I know some people were surprised to hear that he's the one that controls the charity. So what should he have done? Well, unfortunately for us, Mr. Cusatis has no idea how to run a meeting using Robert's Rules of Order. And that's reasonably expected because you have to remember that Mr. Cusatis' whole career has been one of basically a glorified warehouse clerk. But be that as it may, he has the duty to learn how to use Robert's Rules of Order. So what he should have done, he should have said immediately before the discussion started that he was recusing himself and that he would turn the meeting over to the vice chair on this particular agenda item. And then Mr. Speece, as the vice chairman, could have conducted the meeting related to this item without Mr. Cusatis making any comments, and of course not voting since he recused himself. And I'm sure it still would have passed, three votes. And then Mr. Speece would then turn the meeting back to Mr. Cusatis, and then we would go along our way to the other agenda items. But Mr. Cusatis could not do this. I don't know if it's something in his personality that prevents him from being honest with us and forthright, but maybe you can ask him. The other thing we can do, by the way, since it is a private foundation, registered as a 501c3 nonprofit organization, you and myself and anyone else has the right to request from Mr. Cusatis to see his tax returns and any other records that are related to this private foundation. This is an IRS rule, and there are severe penalties if he refuses to allow us to see this information. And we can view it at the address where the foundation is registered. And you'll see the IRS letter. It's registered at 61 Caribou Court, which I believe happens to be Mr. Cusatis' home address. So I encourage everyone to request from Mr. Cusatis a appointment so that we can review how much income is coming into this private foundation, who is donating to his private foundation, where he spends the money from this private foundation, and if at this current time is he paying himself or anyone else a salary. So I intend to request to see those documents, and I hope you will as well. Now you can watch the 2 slides following this, and then the rest of the meeting for September 23rd, 2019. Thank you very much. This letter is from the Internal Revenue Service, and it validates the tax exemption of Burke's Hometown Heroes. You'll notice that it's addressed to 61 Caribou Court. This is the chairman of the board's home address, so we know that he owns this nonprofit. It's actually a private foundation. There's certain rules about private foundations that must be followed. He is the president of Burke's Hometown Heroes. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because you'll see in the next slide where I took a clip out of the current meeting that we're showing, where he discusses a motion on the floor to exempt Hometown Heroes from the normal permit fee. And he discusses what the event is going to be at homecoming, fireworks, and so forth. And some other supervisors enter the discussion as well. And the issue isn't what the activity is being done with the nonprofit. The issue is what Mr. Cusatis did. He basically deceived everyone, I think, in my opinion, because he should have recused himself from the whole discussion since he is the president. Unfortunately, we don't follow Robert's Rules of Orders, but legally, he should have recused himself. He should have turned this particular issue over to the vice chairman, and the vice chairman could have handled it. And in recusing himself, he should not have voted. And I think the measure still would have passed. There was no need to practice any deception whatsoever. And maybe it's Mr. Cusatis's inexperience. I guess I forget sometimes that his whole career was spent as basically a glorified warehouse clerk. So he's not adept at running meetings. He's still learning, if he can learn, that is. I don't see this learning process occurring. But this letter validates ownership. And because he is the owner of this private foundation, everyone has the right, you and I do, to request that we see his documents. And according to the IRS regulations, he is required to show them to us upon request at the location of his private foundation, which in this case is 61 Caribou Court. So if you want to see the documents, see how much money that his organization has taken in, how much it's spent, what it's spent on, if he's paid himself any salary out of this, because he can do that, you can request to see his documents. The reason why I'm showing this is to validate that he is the owner, besides being the president. Everyone at the Board of Supervisors knew this, but no one said anything. And you'll see him discuss the subject in the next clip. And then at the very end, very, very quickly, so that no one catches it, he takes the vote and he says, I abstain. But he should not have done that at all. He should have recused himself from the whole conversation. This is the difference really between, I'm showing this because this is the difference between being honest and forthright and being deceptive. Mr. Cusatis constantly practices deception. And this is just an example of how he does it. So watch the clip, and then you'll see it again in the movie, in the video of the meeting.
Next up, approve waiver of fireworks permit fee for Hometown Heroes event.
Mr. Chairman, in the past, the board has waived the permit fee for Hometown Heroes fire event, and the administration has been requested to do the same this year. This requires board action.
This is homecoming on Friday. What's going to
Football game.
Fireworks after every touchdown and fireworks at the end of the game.
Last year they really beat them.
So we're playing Conrad Weiser this year, so I don't know if it's going to be 52 points or 10 points. We'll see. One of the things that we did want to mention, though, is that this kind of coincided with the new fireworks ordinance. So we did not give the 2 weeks notice to the public. So that is going to be fixed, obviously, going forward. This was already in works before we approved the fireworks, which is only a couple weeks ago. So that's kind of like the timing there. So just do want to apologize that this was kind of like the chamber. This isn't going to be a 5-hour show.
Does it have to be after every touchdown?
Yes. And it'll be about 11 minutes long, the whole show, after the game's over. So the fireworks are going to go off after the football game, the band plays, and then fireworks go off. So we're at around 9:50 p.m. And they'll be done and then it'll be done about 10:02. So it'll be exciting. It's for the kids. We got a lot of good sponsors. Mr. Joe Staub, Tidewater Mortgage was one of the sponsors. It'll be this Friday, yeah. So it's good for the kids. It gets them excited for the homecoming dance on Saturday. We're going to crown a king and queen on Friday. So everybody get out to the game on Friday. Come watch a good football team. Exeter's very good this year. I don't know how Conrad Weiser is, but it should be a really exciting game.
I did talk to Sergeant Banks a little bit today about that, and he was going to, I'm sure he's going to converse with John about, I guess we have done a code red for display fireworks, but I think last year we did like a 2-year radius, and I think he was talking about actually broadening it out. 2 mile radius, but we're going to do like a broader, but he'll get it determined, and he'll do that like Thursday night. And then, also I want to make sure, that by approving this, we have set that, like, even when it was May days, when the township was running and all that, we have never charged for the fireworks fee. Like, that, as of yet, we have not.
It's a good collaboration with the school district as we, begin our journey to really work together for some positive things.
So,
I'll make the motion to approve the waiver for this event.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain, John. Yeah. Since I work so closely with the school, I'll abstain. So it'll be 3 yes, 1 abstain. Next up. Regular meeting, please rise for the pledge.
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Supervisor Biancone. Present. Supervisor Anderton. Here. Supervisor Spees. Here. And Supervisor Cusatis.
Here.
And Supervisor O'Donnell's not here this evening. I will announce there was an executive session held on September 13th to discuss the real estate acquisition on Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, first up announcements. John, Community Center survey.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The administration has prepared a survey that will be posted tomorrow on the Township's website for residents to respond to or gather information with respect to a need, desire, wants of a community center at the new municipal complex. It will be done by Survey Monkey. There will be paper copies available at the library or at the Township building for those who do not have access to a computer, Mr. Hoover.
Thank you.
And it'll be open until October 23rd, which time the survey will be closed. And the administration will report results back to the board at the meeting on October 28th. It's a pretty easy survey to work your way around, mostly question and answers, and I believe there is space for comments. So you have an opportunity to express your comments one way or the other. And we'd very much like to hear from the residents to have an opinion on the need, wants, desires of a community facility at the new municipal complex. That's all.
Mr. Howell, are you recording this?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Next up, Firewood Lottery.
We have some firewood available for the public. We'll be having a lottery. We had a lottery a couple years ago, worked reasonably well. The lottery will be open tomorrow through 4 p.m. October 4th. Call the Township building. Give your name and contact information, whether or not you're a resident, because some people have tried to say they are residents and are not. We will then pick a lottery. It's not first come, first served. This is by lottery. And then we'll contact the individuals. You will get a pickup truck worth of firewood. You're responsible for loading your own pickup truck, sport utility vehicle, or whatever, or trailer. And we will let people know, and the firewood must be picked up by October 14th, so that'll give you a weekend or two to pick it up. It went very well last time. We think we have an opportunity this time, and the firewood will be available at the Reading Country Club. And that's where we had it last time. That's all.
Thanks. Public comment on agenda items. There are none. Just a housekeeping item. Everybody saw it today. There's 2 sheets of paper now on the board. The blue is for public comments on agenda items. It's actually written up there. Again, first name, last name, street address, and the subject with the agenda item. And the yellow sheet is general comments. So we kind of made it easier. This way you don't have to decipher which page do I sign. If it's a agenda item, you sign the blue. If it's a public comment at the end of the meeting, you sign this. And keep in mind that I'll let you talk about it. Just keep in mind too, the agendas are posted the Friday before the meeting. So you have all weekend to, there's a really good article in the Reading Eagle about townships not posting on time. So I was happy to say that we're way ahead of the curve. We post things on Friday at 5 p.m. You have 2 days to digest it, and then you could talk about the agenda item at this meeting before we vote on it, and then the public comment at the end of the meeting. So, good article on the Reading Eagle. I encourage everybody to read it. It kind of shows that our meetings are way ahead of the curve. So, very happy and proud about that. Ms. Vlask, you can talk now. Yes.
Posted on Zoom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You should post it. In the future, Pat, in the future, you would do this.
Yeah, I'll do the blue. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Just a very quick note, non-Italian.
Oh, name and address.
Oh, yeah, that's right, sorry. Pat Vlask, Vlasak, 211 Rugby Road. Want to comment on the progress that we're making at the Reading Country Club and the exterior with the landscaping. And we were very, very happy, the group of the gals and guys with the garden group at the country club. We had a very wonderful surprise. We were approached by members of the North Star United Methodist Church. They approached us to come to volunteer. They wanted to volunteer time at the country club, helping us with landscaping. And I was really pleased to, I'm very pleased to mention that on September 15th this took place. And in 2 hours, thanks to their help, we did 26 hours worth of work throughout. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. Any other groups that want to volunteer anytime, we'd be more than happy to have you and set something up. But we did lots of work from deadheading daisies and cutting back plants to watering and work where we started work, a tremendous project by the handicap area. We're weeding and we're looking to keep the integrity of the big stone garden there with native plants, so they got us onto a good start. And because of the heat, we're doing upkeep on making sure that we take care of doing all the watering. So on behalf of our group of volunteers, I very much want to thank the North Star United Methodist Church for their support.
Excellent.
Yeah.
From the North Star Church.
Did it? What?
Do you know Wendy? Wendy and Mike Fritz, they're two really good people that are part of that church. They help out with a lot of the events,
they're,
with May Days and everything. It's a great group.
Yeah.
It's a great group. And they actually, it was their weekend of service, so they
Yes,
actually
it
did a
was.
lot. So they didn't go to church that day, they actually
Well, they
helped
did.
at the
They
country
went
club.
at
They went-
8 o'clock,
and
they did a service, and then after the service, then we all met at.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll make sure to, on behalf of the board, that send a nice thank you letter.
Please do.
We'll
Yeah,
take care
that
of it.
would
I'll
be.
get you- Yeah, we'll take care of that, Pat. We'll
Yeah.
make sure that they take an appreciation from the board. Yes,
Okay.
Dave?
Mike's on the round pen, isn't he?
Mike Fritz is on the St. Lawrence Borough. He's a borough councilman, and he also is a big member of the North Star Church.
Well, when
It's a
they
great
appro-
group. They do a lot for May Days. They do a lot of
When they
events.
approached us, we were
It's
in
exciting.
La La Land.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I will
Okay.
make sure that we get a note to them.
Yeah,
as a
please
letter.
do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have my word.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, regular approvals minutes, September 9th.
Collectively, in 2 weeks, we did 48 hours worth of volunteer work, and there were 16 volunteers.
How much did they do time-wise, just so I could put it in?
26 to 30 hours worth of work.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Next up, regular approvals minutes, September 9th, 2019.
I make the motion to approve it.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Treasurer's report, August 20, 2019.
Make a motion to approve subject to audit.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Disbursements.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second that.
I do want to talk, there was some sewer rebate fees for Lower Alsace. That was the Lower Alsace refund that we had to do, the settlement a couple months ago, so that, you saw the refunds. That's the payment back to Lower Alsace residents through the sewer plant. So I know there were some questions from the public about that. That's what that cost was on the disbursements. Any further discussion? Besides what I said? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Old business, authorization to amend the contract with Wolf Roofing in the amount of $94,000 for additional repair work to the Four Seasons room for the RCC.
I'll defer to Clarence on this.
Okay. Unfortunately, after starting the roof work that they had been doing, that you had approved in the past, they found that underneath the fascia boards and everything else, there was a large amount of rot on the plywood, so that's gonna have to be removed. Also, when we took out, and John Lukowski actually believed this, he would find this anyway, but when we did take the stone away, the back pier that goes against the building, the contractor had never put anything behind the stone. So there was just basically a big hole behind the stone going into the building. So all of that together comes down to removing all of that stuff that went around the front, between the window and the fascia board, and then up in the back behind, that goes up against the old section of the ballroom. There's going to be about 2 feet of aluminum put along there as well, with rubber going up to the windows, to make sure that we don't get any water back in there again. And this comes out to $94,000 each additional.
Is Wolf gonna be putting the stonework back and everything?
No, we put the stone.
We put that here.
We put the stone back, and we have to put back the rail.
Okay. You want to tell the board, part of the reason this cost is so high is that we have to pay prevailing wages. You want to?
Yeah, the prevailing wages, unfortunately, and in Exeter, the prevailing wages are probably the highest anywhere around here, which is crazy, but that's not a rule either. When you put it in a regular contract form, without prevailing wages, that 94,000 goes to 42,000. So it's not something there's anything we can do about it. It's a law, it's a state law, and it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. It would have been a reasonable number had it not been for that. So we don't really have any choice, so.
Well, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying, like, I'm a union electrician, and we bid jobs all the time. It's the same like anybody else. I mean, I don't think that the prevailing wage is that much of a factor. I wouldn't say it's like
$600 an hour for guys putting up tin or aluminum. That's what it comes out to, $600, not a day, I'm sorry. And that's one of the things that really drove the
It
process.
doesn't matter who it is.
He said it would be about 50,000 less if we didn't have to
It would go
do,
from 94 to 42.
so it's more than double the cost because of the prevailing wage.
And that's everything we do.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's not just.
That's the union.
No, this is a good example with numbers right here for us to see.
Right.
And we will be submitting a claim through our insurance carriers as well. Yeah, so we are submitting.
So it's not sticker shock yet, we're still working through the
What's the,
claim on
what's
that.
the square footage of the building that they're replacing?
It's 32 feet deep, 60 feet wide.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
370 Pathfinder Drive.
Motion to approve. Yeah, where's your address, Phil?
370 Pathfinder
Thank you.
Drive.
I'm sorry.
370
Pathfinder Drive.
I just want to know square footage.
Thanks, Phil.
Wait a minute.
That's not the square footage.
Harsh. Each of the others. Okay.
Motion, gentlemen.
Make a motion to approve the payment to Wolf Roofing for this work.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. New business. Adopt resolution approving 2020 minimum municipal obligations. Police, $498,068, employee, $106,232, and non-uniform, $81,000.
Mr. Chairman, this is a required state action. The minimum municipal obligation is the total amount that the township is required to pay to each one of the pension plans. The state gives the municipality a certain amount of money every year based on the number of employees in each plan. Next year, the minimum municipal obligation, as John indicated, the police pension plan is $498,068. The employee pension plan is $106,232, and the non-uniformed employee plan is $81,000. These numbers will appear in the 2020 budget. And I need a resolution approving that action.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Next up, authorize proper officer to enter into the equipment loan and indemnification agreement with Ron Wegman for the Wagons for the Hayride coming up for the Fall Festival. We also did this last year.
Yeah, this is an annual thing. We, I guess, lease, is that the right word to use?
It's just to protect him.
Yeah.
His insurance people told him he needs to get something to protect himself.
It's the same agreement that now Judge Nevy has previously,
I can't hear you.
it's the same agreement that now Judge Nevy has previously looked at a few years ago. We've been using every year.
We would use it.
His insurance carrier requires it.
They turn their mics off.
These are for the Hayride for the Fall Festival. Mr. Wegman has always been great over the years. He's been doing this for a while, like 20 years.
Yes.
So
More than 20.
this protects him from the.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Next up, consider time extension for Laudeman Minor 2 Subdivision Plan until January 13th, 2020.
Mr. Chairman, the developers have requested a extension on time for reviewing the plans until January 13th, 2020. The administration and the planning commission recommend that the board grant time extension.
Is there a motion? I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, approve waiver of fireworks permit fee for Hometown Heroes event.
Mr. Chairman, in the past, the board has waived the permit fee for Hometown Heroes fire event, and the administration has been requested to do the same this year. This requires board action.
This is homecoming on Friday, which will be
Football game.
fireworks after every touchdown and fireworks at the end of the game.
Last year, they really
I know.
beat it.
So we're playing Conrad Weiser this year, so I don't know if it's going to be 52 points or 10 points. We'll see. One of the things that we did want to mention, though, is that this kind of coincided with the new fireworks ordinance. So we did not give the 2 weeks' notice to the public. So that is going to be fixed, obviously, going forward. This was already in works before we approved the fireworks, which was only a couple weeks ago. So that's kind of like the timing there. So just do want to apologize that this was kind of like the but this isn't going to be a 5-hour show.
Does it have to be after every touchdown?
Yes. And it'll be about 11 minutes long, the whole show, after the game's over. So the fireworks are going to go off after the football game, the band plays, and then fireworks go off. So right around 9:50 p.m. And they'll be done at, and then it'll be done about 10:02. So it'll be exciting. It's for the kids. We got a lot of good sponsors. Mr. Joe Staub, Tidewater Mortgage was one of the sponsors. It'll be this Friday, yeah. So it's good for the kids. It gets them excited for the homecoming dance on Saturday. We're going to crown a king and queen on Friday. So everybody get out to the game on Friday. Come watch a good football team. Exeter's very good this year. I don't know how Conrad Weiser is, but it should be a really exciting game.
And I did talk to Sergeant Banks a little bit today about that, and he was going to, I'm sure he's going to converse with John about, I guess we have done a code red for display fireworks, but I think last year we did like a 2-year radius, and I think he was talking about actually broadening it out. 2 mile radius, but we're going to do like a broader, but he'll get determined, and he'll do that like Thursday night. And then, also I want to make sure, that by approving this, we have set that, like, even when it was May Days, when the township was running and all that, we have never charged for the fireworks fee. Like, that, as of yet, we have not.
It's a good collaboration with the school district as we begin our journey to really work together for some positive things.
So,
I'll make the motion to approve the waiver for this event.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain, John. Yeah. Since I work so closely with the school, I'll abstain. So it'll be 3 yes, 1 abstain. Next up, resolution authorizing agreement with PennDot for the TASA grant, Perkiomen Avenue Project.
Mr. Chairman, the TASA grant is a $1 million grant the township received for the PennDot, or for the Perkiomen Avenue Project. As we're working through the design issues, PennDot is working through the contract requirements, and the board will require a resolution authorizing the agreement, the standard PennDot agreement. I believe the solicitor has had an opportunity to review it some time ago. If not, I will send it to him again.
We looked at it a while
Out there, okay. Thanks. So we'll need a resolution approving, authorizing the agreement.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next up, adopt resolution delegating to the township manager the authority to execute the necessary sanitary sewer easements.
So in the process of preparing for the closing on the sale of the wastewater treatment plant, right now we're on the agenda for the Public Utility Commission's possible approval for, I believe it's early October. We're finalizing some of the due diligence associated with what will be the closing, assuming it goes forward. And what has come up is that there have been, it's not surprising, when some of these documents go back many years, but there's just no record of certain easements that we need to have executed and put in place. So we've had people working with the people from Pennsylvania American to try to find everything that's possible, put it all together, and we're finalizing a list of probably somewhere around 10 to 15 easements that will need to be put in place prior to the closing so that it can be transferred at the closing. So in order to do that without having to come before the board for every easement, I thought it would be easier to ask the board to delegate John the authority to sign those documents that are necessary to the real estate closing, and that would otherwise be, and frankly, they're all easements that are in place. There's just no written record that we would be, we're correcting that. So that's what this is about, and we're looking for a resolution to approve John signing those. And what we will do is, prior to the closing, or whatever documents are executed, I'll bring before at one time, so the record can be, the public record can be on that issue.
Make a motion adopting the resolution to delegate Mr. Granger as the authority to execute those agreements.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next, approve extension of biosolids contract for disposal of sludge, grit, and screenings.
Mr. Chairman, the agreement with Pioneer Land Crossing expires in September for the disposal of sludge, grit, and screening material. They have agreed to extend the agreement for another year at the current prices. It would be appropriate for the board to approve the agreement for another year.
And this transfers over to PA Water.
This will be transferred to PA Water at the time of settlement.
Got it. I'll make a motion to approve the extension with Pioneer Crossing landfill.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Authorize Landis Mechanical Group to install a 3/4-ton ductless split system air conditioning in the police department IT server room at a cost of $52.95.
Mr. Chairman, this is one of the issues that comes up because of just the change in technology since the buildings were built. The administration and the police department each have a server room. Ours is in the finance department, theirs is in their space over there. The servers are becoming so hot, it is, and there's no ventilation in their room, that it could damage the servers. in order to rectify the problem, the only solution is to put a small air conditioning unit attached in the room. There's no, our side is air conditioned because of where the location is. The other side is not, and quite frankly, when it was placed there many years ago, there were far fewer servers and it was not a problem. But as the need has grown to add servers into the space and the servers have grown in size, produced more heat just is staying in a room. That's the problem for the server. So they need an air conditioner to fix the problem.
How many servers do we have in there?
There's at least, and on the rack there, 4 to 6 different types of servers that are in there. When you open the door now, you can feel the heat.
Yeah.
Just hit you.
Have we looked into moving these to a data center?
Yeah.
Why is that? Compliance?
Security. Compliance. Some of the material that is on these servers cannot be shared.
Even if it's a SOC compliant data center?
That's correct. That's a requirement by the state.
Okay.
Is this just an AC? It's not gonna do heat?
Right, just a quarter ton.
You gotta cool the servers down.
No, I mean, I
That room is
compare them all the time, because
room
of like
is
Mac
just
machines and.
Actually, an elevator shaft, that's all it ever was.
Right.
And they turned it into a room
Oh.
because we didn't put an elevator in.
No, I don't.
It's a
They
very
can-
small room.
They can get hot. Like I said, we fucked the block for Mac machines and stuff like that, and you know they get the same thing.
Have we looked ahead and projected how many, if any, servers we may need to add in the future?
Currently, the way it's set up now, it meets our needs.
Mhm.
So I think right now we're good. However, it has to get some sort of ventilation in there.
No, I'm just wondering if we should maybe, if we do this now, if we're gonna need,
Go ahead, Jeff, finish.
what's that?
Go ahead, finish it off.
If we're gonna need more, like, I would like to know when we're gonna need more and how many, and then should we make this a bigger project now rather than having to rip it out or put a second one in a year or two? Like, I haven't seen any, like, projection as far
This
as,
will satisfy our immediate needs.
well, I know that, I'm saying
And
future
immediate,
needs.
immediate need, immediate is defined as until the township relocates, which would be sometime within 3 years.
So we won't need any servers for 3 years?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm
Okay.
saying this air conditioner will meet the needs, however many servers you need. If you need more, it'll be at least 1 or maybe 2 more, but not more than that.
So we know, so we do know, we won't need more than 2 servers for 3 years?
It's a guess at this time. Okay. The problem, and one of the things we are planning going forward is a data room one room for all of the users, and it'll be a facility that has a lifetime expansion of about 10 to 15 years at some point. And technology will have changed so much that we'll be looking for maybe something a little smaller, the way
Yeah.
technology is moving. So,
I'd like to see some sort of projection to make sure we're not, that we couldn't do a more efficient job now with this, or,
I'll work on it. We'll give you something.
yeah. Thank you.
I mean, your concern is that's not barely enough to cool this, right?
Right, and then what if if you look at studies, we've created more data in the last 5 years than we have in the history of mankind. So what if it just goes exponentially more and more and more? What if in a year from now we're like, wow, we need 5 servers?
Right.
Now the room itself isn't even usable, we have to create a whole new room. This was a waste of a project, or we have to do another one that if we would have done initially, we could have made this a bigger project now and saved us money and time in the future.
But I think that's what he's saying, like, the next one is gonna be.
But we don't know the timeline. We don't know how much data we're going to produce in the next 3 years. We don't know how many servers we're going to need. I mean, I haven't heard that we know that, unless I missed something.
Yeah.
We'll provide that to you next week.
Just before we go ahead with this, I'd like to see or
Table this?
talk. Yeah.
You need to get it on.
No, I was gonna say.
We need to do it, but I mean, I'd like to see some more info.
Can you give me more
Right.
data for the next meeting? Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. So motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
Huh.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? We got Jeff's note for the next meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Department reports, Clarence. And I think we have to all sing happy birthday together. Who wants to lead? Mr. Vice Chair, you can lead. Someone else.
Happy birthday, Clarence. There, we did it.
Happy birthday, Clarence.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Now you don't have to ask me, I would have started singing.
Continue, just about finished with the Lorraine project. The only thing left would be, I guess, after the next day or so, is to put a fence up around the detention area of the pond itself where the trail is. Other than that.
That's how
We're continuing with highway mowing right now. Also doing some work over at the country club. And other than that, that's pretty much it right now.
Get ready for snow.
We also have been working on doing some work down at the trail. Once we're done with the highway stuff, as far as the mowing goes, then we'll go down there to finish mowing, but that's gonna have to wait till the highway mowing is finished.
Chief.
Where's that at, Clarence? What trail?
The bike trail.
I don't have much, Mr. Chairman, just I'm really proud of the officers over there. One of the things that I wanted them to do was to get out into the community a little more and attend some community events. In the last couple of weeks, we've had officers at the Junior Soccer League fundraising event here in the township, Maddie's Miracles Walkathon, Adeline Rose Foundation picnic, and we were invited in the whole daytime shift. Went to the senior high school for the 9/11 service. The high school put on a very good presentation, and it was well attended.
Great, thank you. Engineer report, Joe?
I don't have too much either this evening, except just an update on the Perkiomen Avenue Project. We're still attending the progress meetings. We'll have another one scheduled for next Tuesday afternoon. However, things are progressing along. We're anticipating the final overlay will not take place until probably mid-October, and it'll take about 2 to 3 weeks for completion. Be nighttime work. I think they're still ahead of schedule, way ahead of schedule. However, we're hoping maybe the overlay would take place early October, but based on the progress, they still need to do a lot of paving for the base and the binder courses and prep work prior to the final wearing course. So we'll keep you posted on that progress, and I've been keeping the staff posted so that the website can be updated on any changes and so forth. And Norfolk Southern, we're just waiting for back from their contractor once the materials are delivered. Hopefully I'll have a better defined start date. I'll keep the township posted on
I did
that
talk
matter
to
as well.
Yeah, I talked to their lawyer about that, and they said they anticipate work starting either by the end of this month or early next at the latest date. So materials are on schedule.
That's good.
So hopefully by the next time we're here, shovels will be in
Be
the
able to
Great.
some
Any
earth
questions for Joe? Good.
Okay, thank you.
Manager report, Mr. Granger? Oh, sorry. That's not it. That's not it. All right. Check mark, sir.
It's okay.
Ahead of myself.
Only one thing. So I'd asked the board, we received, I think we announced previously at a prior meeting, the environmental analysis or due diligence reports for the Promenade acquisition. The reports, at least according to the engineer who did the assessment, didn't raise, while there were some issues that were expected to be identified more, there was nothing in there that the professional or the engineer viewed as a must stop or a major issue or something like that. But we did take the report at the board at the direction of the administration. I did go back to their council, and we were able to negotiate a $50,000 reduction in the price. And so what I would ask the board to do is to ratify the amendment to the agreement of sale, reducing the purchase price by $50,000, and moving forward then with a closing on the acquisition.
Is there any motion?
Yes.
I'll make the motion what Sam said.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
I have nothing else.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you. Mr. Granger.
I am pleased to announce that the influent pump station at the wastewater treatment plant has been placed back in operation. The 3 bypass pumps will be maintained there at their current locations for emergency backup purposes for 30 days. We've notified the insurance company and DEP. That's enough.
All right, public comment. We have 2.
That's a requirement to leave them there 30 days, right?
No, it's not a requirement, it is a safety. It is safety.
We have 2 big discussions for public comment. The first is Mr. Kyle Kemp on the Exeter Trail, and then the second is the noise ordinance. So, Kyle, you want to go first? Talk about the trail.
Sure. I sent you all.
We'll just give your name and full address,
Kyle
please.
Kemp.
You're a little taller than me. Just a tad.
Kyle Kemp, 330 Lorraine Road. I sent you all 2 emails, a revised email today on my thoughts on stuff that should be done on the trail, the bike trail, the scenic river trail. First, I want to thank Clarence for taking care of that ponding issue on the trail a little while ago, and also I noticed new decking on the footbridge. So that's an enhancement to the trail to make people's experience, trail experience better. Referring to the ponding area that's been raised with substrate is now very rough. And even with a mountain bike with knobby tires like I have, it's still a very rough ride. And I'm just concerned, and along with a stretch of trail that's very near and low to the river, that the screens have been washed off over here during flooding, I'm just concerned that these rough areas might deter people from using the second half of the trail from Trout Run west. And if that's the case, I'm also concerned that maybe the dirt bikers and the ATVers might notice this and come back like they used to. Years ago, Clarence, you remember when we put the trail in, we had a big problem with dirt bikers and ATVers, and that problem's gone. But if they notice that this part of the trail is not being used or being rough, they might catch on to that and say, oh, we can reclaim this again. So I'm advocating for the former ponding area to have the screenings put on, fine limestone screenings, and then along the river, where that's been washed off, it could wash off again with flooding, that should be macadamized. And then there's the Japanese knotweed, which is an invasive species. The first half of the trail from Gibraltar Road to Trout Run, the shoulders are wide enough that it can be mowed with the tractor mower. So the Japanese knotweed pretty much in check along there, but it's the second half of the trail where the trail's not as wide that you have big patches of knotweed that is in flower right now. It's going to start going to seed, and it's just going to propagate itself more and more. And that should really be whacked back right away with a bladed brush cutter so it can't go to seed. Also, there's some ailanthus trees, and that's the preferred host tree of the sputter lanternfly. I noticed a few of them along the trail. They're not as pervasive as the Japanese knotweed, but they should also come down at some point. And I noticed at a friend's house that the lanternfly nymphs also like wild mulberry trees. So if there's any wild mulberry trees along the trail, which I don't know if there are, but they should also come down also along with the ailanthus trees. And then I made then the parking lot, the trail parking lot's a mess. It's always shaded, it's not in the sun, it's always wet. It's probably dry now, we've had no rain for a month, but usually it's wet, it's damp, there's leaves there, there's mud, it's just a mess, it just needs to be cleaned up. And then I made a reference to my first PS was to maybe to quiz or reach out to the township residents to see if anybody has grant writing experience who would maybe volunteer their time to write some grants to get money to extend the trail to Lincoln Corporate Center, like was talked about years ago, and was never done because the 2 adjacent landowners were very opposed to it. Well, those 2 people are Hart and Pfeiffer are now passed. So maybe just to write some grants to get money to extend the trail further east, That'd be nice. And also, I noticed that between the new Gibraltar Road Bridge and the woods to the west, people are parking there to access the river, to boat, to canoe, to kayak. And I didn't check it out myself, but I don't think there's and talking to Mr. Anderson, I don't think there's a official boat launch there. People are just using the bank of the river. But that's another area that a grant could be written to get money to make a parking lot for there and an actual boat launch for people to access the river, as I think Leesport has access like that, and other municipalities do along the river. So that's the gist of my letter. I might have gone over my
No.
5 minutes.
Good. 4 minutes, 13 seconds.
Okay.
No, thank you. I appreciate your passion, and we'll definitely look into this, and thanks for the letter that we got, and we'll take it under advisement, working with admin, and budget season is now, so it's a good time
Yes.
that you caught us now.
Yeah, and I talked to Mr. Anderson earlier today, and he
Great.
said that staff is short right now. You're tight on staff to do some of this stuff, but it's just things that I see as a trail user. I've been on trails in probably like 8 to 10 states over the years, and also Southwest Germany. So I pretty much have seen a lot of trails, and it's just, what I see could be up to bring our trail either further up, like an 8 or
Yeah.
a 5-star trail with some things that could be tweaked when we have the time.
And keep us posted if you can head up a volunteer group for us.
Yeah.
Pat'll give you tips.
Well, actually, I did that with the, used to be the trail volunteer coordinator for the Toon Trail work days back in the 90s. So I do have a history of doing that.
No, you're a great resource, and we'll definitely be picking your brain as we go towards that journey, so.
Yes, feel free.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
The noise ordinance, do you guys want to talk as a group or have a spokesman? It's up to you, whatever you want to do. You guys can all talk, or if you guys want to talk on behalf of everybody that signed up, however you want to do it. But you guys can take as much time as you want. Just,
Kind of do it as a group.
could we just get the names on,
Yeah.
just so that we can make sure we're not missing anybody. Just want to give your first name
Mike? Shane?
and your...
Jackie Sheen.
Jackie Sheen. Good. And then the gentleman in the back.
John Knoll.
Is there someone else? Bill Ryan? Bill Ryan, you signed up for the noise ordinance. Do you want to go with this group? And then who's the other gentleman that's standing?
Emmanuel
Perfect. Thank you. We'll put you all guys together as a group, but again, you can have multiple people talking. Absolutely. The floor is yours.
Okay. Mike Shea, 115 Old Friedensburg Road. We were here several months ago about the noise ordinance because we had issues with the family at 123 Old Friedensburg to the point where we had one of the children there cited under the noise ordinance. We went through different phases of the court system. We had a guilty verdict at the district court, and then we went to the Court of Common Pleas in Bucks County where we lost. The judge deemed it was not a sufficient ordinance. So we came to you folks looking for advice, looking to have the ordinance revamped. And just as a side note, we also provided a petition back then that you had 13 residents, almost 30, 13, residents, almost 30 people that had signed the petition that this is a disturbance, that this is a problem in the neighborhood. We met with the new chief, Chief Morris, a couple months back. He was very quick about getting back to us. We sat down, we came as a group, like we did tonight. He was very receptive, and we expressed some concerns that the homeowner of 123 is also with the law firm, the solicitor. So we thought it might be a conflict of interest, and then we did find out thereafter that a different law firm had been hired, which was great, because we were looking for it.
Yes.
August 12th, it looks like you folks had a discussion on the new ordinance. We weren't aware that that was coming up. And we just had some concerns as to what was being discussed, where the numbers were coming from. You had 50 feet from property line. We're hoping we can get that extended. Literally, our house is 50 feet to the property line. These kids have at least one jump, 10 to 15 feet from the property line, where they're up in the air, cranking this thing as loud as they possibly can.
We did look at some other ordinances because it seemed like here numbers were being thrown and people were just saying, well, that sounds good. So we thought we'd look. And like the setback for 2 of the other townships we looked at were, it was 50 feet from the property line, but it was 300 feet from a dwelling. Because again, if you have somebody in a home and you're 50 feet from them and you're at 80, 90 decibels, we can't eat. We can't talk. We're in the yard and I can't hear it. It is not the sound of a mower. We have a decibel meter. My husband took the 0 point out. It's nowhere near the decibels that you're talking about. So I think part of it too was how many decibel things really are. And if you have a decibel meter, you would be surprised.
Yeah, I know he was gonna go back, the attorney was gonna go back and look with a sound engineer or
Yeah,
something to that effect.
Update you on that. We have engaged a sound engineer out of Pittsburgh, and he's working on, he will come out if he hasn't already to the site, because he needs that site-specific stuff, and he will recommend the specific decibels that can be incorporated into the ordinance.
What the attorney was saying, which was 76, which right now you have, I think, 60 and 15 more is a violation. So that would be your 76 of the property line. That was what a lot of them said, and that's like, for example, when Mike was on the 0 turn, he was only about 20 feet from me. With the motor engaged, with the blade down, it was 71. So this, when we're in our backyard, 70 is mild. It's up in the 90s. So what he was saying seemed reasonable. We were a little concerned that people were saying, well, that seemed low. It does seem consistent with the other ordinances we looked at.
Okay. The attorney the board retained is the one who recommended the ATV ordinance. And he also is the one who recommended the firm out in Pittsburgh on for the sound engineer. Because if you're going to go, if you need to substantiate your ordinance, you're going to have a sound engineer who went out and tested the site and posed the decibels. Otherwise, you'll lose on that issue. And that is the problem with any noise ordinance, is the decibel level. And while other municipalities have it, it's not necessarily comparable. It's what has stood the test of a court challenge. I've been doing this for a real long period of time, and that is a serious problem, is how to get to the decibel level that is acceptable to the site. It's almost, you can't, a general broad issue is more difficult to enforce than if it's almost site specific, as this case will be. That the guy went out and he may have tested, he may be there while actually running the machines, and he may get that level, and he can recommend decibel levels based on the current circumstances. He'll go and see where your house is relative. He needs to be there for the specific items.
He needs to be there when they're riding?
He doesn't need to be there when they're writing. He needs to see the site. And the issue you had raised was how close the house is to the property line, your house to the property line. Those all things have to come into consideration when he sets the decibel level. And that will also come into consideration when you write the ordinance itself. So I hope to have everything.
Well, but if there's a setback, that gives you a specific distance.
Right.
As soon as you introduce decibels, then he has to be able to enforce it. So then when you have a situation like ours where you have kids that are riding and
Right.
you watch for the police and then they hide,
Right.
it's very hard to enforce it.
Right.
Or if you have, like we had a certain increment of decibels per unit at a time, then you have to have a decibel meter that's going to store that information.
Right.
So enforceability is, like to us,
It
if
is.
the numbers are good but we can't enforce it, it doesn't help us.
I understand completely. This is not the first time I've had this conversation with anyone. And it's all about providing the police department, with the type of equipment they need, get them trained on it, get them certified on it, and placing it so that it can capture the information. And it may be that it is a piece of apparatus that is someplace and set up and left there for a period of time. The way technology is
It's
moving,
just
and it
that,
is.
I understand, it's a
Okay.
different meter though, that, I think when we discuss this, you guys didn't have that
Right.
available.
It is all about setting the decibel level and then recommending the piece of equipment that we need for our circumstances to capture the information so that you can defend it in court.
Do they ride year-round, or is it just summertime-ish?
No, they run you around.
Even in the winter?
But when we moved in, that was November 2017, there was one point where they had 12 dirt bikes. I mean, it's, you just can't even believe it.
Gotcha.
In reality, we can probably put this to bed with the zoning ordinance, which is completely separate from the noise ordinance.
That's the sheet here.
This is a sheet here. The area that's circled is the area in question. That is zoned as rural conservation. And zoning, I have it right here, 390-11, B6. You're only allowed to have trails for non-motorized bicycles. That's the most you can have. And if you go all the way down to 3.2, again, it addresses trails for non-motorized bicycles in that conservation within the zoning. So within the zoning itself, it's not allowing it, and that's the way it's zoned. We met with Representative Joswiak in July. He looked at this, he goes, I don't understand how this is not enforceable. He says, go back, tell the board here, and it's in black and white. He goes, I don't understand how they can't enforce this.
I'm sorry, what's your name?
John Knoll, N-O-L-L.
I just need.
And I have everything here.
Yeah, we have this. This is
Thank
good for
you.
the record. Thank you.
One thing that I would like to mention to you, that I've run into similar issue with motorcycles. When a group of motorcycles traveling on a road, they're very loud. The noise ordinance only deals with a specific motorcycle. It doesn't deal with the group. So when you test a motorcycle, it is usually within the parameters of the noise ordinance. But when you test the group, it's outside the parameters. But you cannot issue a citation for a group because the ordinance is very specific in terms of the individual apparatus.
What about the enforcement of the zoning ordinance?
The zoning ordinance is a different thing, and we'll look at that tomorrow
Are they
morning.
removing the section where you could cite the homeowner for allowing it to occur on their property?
We will, that's one of the issues we'll look at.
Yeah, we'll look at the zoning tomorrow morning.
Look at zoning.
I guess what we're trying to do is make sure that the fix
Right.
does not fix it.
We want to make sure we get it right this time, and it's something that
And
is
in this
enforceable.
instance, one does exceed the 76, it exceeds 90 a lot of times,
Right.
depending on what they're doing. But what John was just talking about too, they have a racetrack.
Yes.
So again, this, I understand we're not these other townships, but it was good to get ideas from
Right.
them. The other townships had, you had to have an event permit, or you weren't allowed to have
Right.
jumps and a course if you're in a residential area.
Are they still riding now, or are they waiting until we figure out the
So
ruling?
they ride less frequently, they ride, we were told to call the police, when we call the police, they watch, then they hide, then they wait for the police to disappear. I mean, it's just.
They have a lookout.
So they've cut back significantly though on the riding?
They've cut back on the frequency with which they ride.
Okay.
But when they ride,
Mhm.
and it is not, like, you wouldn't want it at your house, and it is not funny to those of us.
No, I understand. I was under the impression that they were gonna stop until there was a decision, so I was just trying
That's
to
our
get clarification on that.
That's why we wanted.
Mhm.
So they ride less frequently, but they still ride.
Okay.
Who should we reach out to could we reach out to one person on behalf of the community, on behalf of you guys? Should we call you or your husband?
Yeah, I'm in contact with, that's Mr. Shade.
Yes. You have his number?
Yes.
We get your phone number then? Mr. Shea, you have it?
Yeah, he has.
Yes, so we're good. We're good. Any other comments? On the noise
I
ordinance?
just wanted to say, when you're pulling a wheelie, you're running wide open on these bikes. It's not the normal thing, but when you're doing jumps and stuff, you're wide open. That's when the noise is there.
Okay.
And we all know that because they live right there. We all live right there, but they are 50 feet away.
You're on 10 Wegmans Road, right?
Yes.
You're
I'm Emmanuel.
Thank you, sir.
So there
That's
was-
all I had to say.
There was one other thing that was in some of the other townships, again, I understand they're other townships, but they are thoughts that will make a difference. These people have horses, and at times, the children have chased the horses with the dirt bikes. And so one or two of the townships did have that you could not ride within 300 feet of livestock. And it's really like, if we're gonna sit in our sunroom and watch a kid chasing a horse, which is not right.
That's not right, yeah.
You know, for those of you that know them, it's wrong. It's wrong.
Isn't that
And it's-
abuse?
It is. So the other townships would have that in there. It's just, I can't believe anybody would have to put that in an ordinance, but maybe put it in the ordinance, because it's yet another thing that you shouldn't have to tell somebody not to do.
Same as the one.
You have copies of the ordinances you're reading?
Old Friedensburg.
If you could
So they're online. One of them was Downingtown.
You can email it to us.
Could you
And one of
email
them
them to
was
the chief, please?
Wiesenberg.
Can you email whatever you have to the
Yeah,
chief?
I mean, they're online.
Paste is a real easy way to.
I just.
Yeah, that's good, thank you.
Yeah, well,
But that, again, it's just one thing, but in our instance, that would be really nice not to have done.
yeah, no, we'll work hard to get it right. We did that with the fireworks ordinance and the Airbnb ordinance,
So
so.
what happens then, like, how do we, how do we know when
Right.
something is there for us to read?
We will post any drafts on the website the Friday before the meeting. The next meeting is October 14th. It is my hope to have something so that the board can review it. So you'll have it the Friday before the Monday meeting.
You go on the Exeter.
It'll be on the website.
It'll be on the website.
The Exeter informant, but I mean, we have our.
And again, if it's not on the website, we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay? And it all depends on when we have the information from the sound engineer. But I will talk tomorrow to the zoning officer about the zoning matters, and I'll talk to the solicitor about that tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll get an explanation as to the zoning, too?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd recommend you, given the issue, you will work with the same firm that's.
That's what we're gonna do, yeah. You can always email myself, Vinny, Jeff, or Dave. Our emails are right on the
Well, I
website.
did,
if there's
I
any
emailed
questions.
about trying to get on the agenda tonight, but.
Yeah, at the time it was too late. We had already published it, so.
Yeah.
But we definitely wanted your feedback. That's why I'm glad you're here. We want to listen to it and make it right for before we make any decision. Any other comments on it?
No. I think they should write at John's house. Hubert.
I'll just say, it's a matter of respect, and I live down the road maybe a block and a half along Old Friedensburg, Bill Ryan.
You're on all things.
And
140.
the big thing that I don't hear so much back in the fields, but they're up and down the driveway, their driveway, little wheelies and stuff, incessantly. Then lately, they have calmed down, so I don't know if they're waiting or what.
Is that by the Daniel Boone too? Do you guys hear the gunshots too for the Daniel Boone?
That's over the other side of the hill.
The gunshots wouldn't bother us.
Okay. Just
If the gunshots were like there, it's not that bad.
By the
Okay,
Daniel Boone
excellent. Any
Rock
other
Gun.
comments? Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming.
No, they don't, it's all right there, they should.
Next up, Carl
So they're
Shepard.
always shooting around our place, who cares?
Carl.
Oh,
Name
Carl
and address.
Schember, 1907. We'll discuss that sometime.
Sure.
Mosquito spraying, are you done for the year?
We're done for the year, unless the numbers go up again, but right now they haven't been too bad.
Dying from mosquitoes is being.
Numbers have not been bad around here. The county said they will not support us.
Right.
They said the numbers are too low.
Come sit at my house.
All I can tell you.
The $7 million for the sewer plant transferred over. You said you were gonna have a meeting on that. Is that October 3rd? That October 3rd meeting is.
No. That's a budget meeting October 3rd, I believe.
It's used for.
So it's not going to be discussed, you'll advertise when that will be discussed?
Yes. Because that may change actually.
Use of proceeds from the sewer plant, October 3rd.
I thought that was a budget meeting.
Use of proceeds from the sale of the wastewater treatment plant will be discussed on October 3rd.
It will be.
The use of the proceeds for sale of the wastewater treatment
And
plant.
that's not the 7 million.
Proceeds, not the 7 million.
That's the internal transfer, the 7 million.
Yeah, you going to discuss that at all?
Yes, we are actually. I'm going to talk about that in my supervisor report.
Need you to.
Yes.
So we not even time.
You put a TV out in the hallway? I suggested that about 2 years ago. We're all
Yeah.
standing out there, we
Do you have
can't
one?
hear
Do you
hands
have
and
one?
stuff.
You have one to give us?
Did you work for, no, who worked for Vlask House? It wasn't you guys, somebody.
Chief Jordan's son works for Boss Cubs.
Yeah, ask him. They're giving,
You get donated.
yeah. Ms. Garrett's giving $1 million, you can take $200 out. And then vandalism in parks. That's made news down on Channel 3, Channel 6 and all.
Mm.
Any ideas on that? 'Cause I can tell you what used to be done.
We can talk about that.
Well,
Chief?
with, so community park is our main problem.
Well, they had it
right
next to
now.
one news, one said marine, one said community park.
No, it's been community park, and a lot of the issues are, we believe, are the kids once they get out of school, coming through the park there and causing issues. We're exploring some different ideas as to maybe possibly leaving the bathroom shut, but when there's events, having some sort of key code we can give the renters of the pavilions and stuff there to get in, because they're consistently going in there and damaging the property.
That key code be changed after the people are done?
Correct.
Okay.
And Chief, I think that's not even your police force, right? That's
Correct.
Central Parks.
Central Parks.
It used to be Exeter.
Central Parks manages that site.
Central Parks takes it over now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
What's your idea though? Let's hear it.
Well, they used to go around and lock them up.
We do.
Dusk.
We do.
They used to, I don't know if they were doing it now.
No, we still, our officers lock them up every
Do
night.
you lock the gate up top?
For which part?
Any of them. They all have gates in them.
The gates are locked, but I think Lorraine might not be locked.
Lorraine or Lorraine Hollow?
Lorraine Hollow.
I've seen that lock before.
Yeah, they
Well,
used to
that
go
running
around,
around.
I think one of Clarence's house at the end of the day, used to go around years ago.
Yeah, right now they're not locking the Lorraine Gate because there's too many other ways out of there. I mean, if the police officer's coming in that street, there's
Yeah, it's wide open in the back.
free range.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere.
Plus the
Community
development.
park, same thing. There is no gate there. And what good would it do you
Is
anyway?
there a gate up top? It used to be. No?
Where's that at?
As far as the police showing up in the cop car, can't they ride a bike and not wear a uniform? Or their other equipment?
For what?
For any of the parties.
Well,
If a kid sees a cop car coming down the road, they're all gonna go.
Well,
And
right.
you have officers that ride bicycles, they can go across
do.
the high school and across the bridge area.
We do, but one of the issues is, so we'll have to keep an officer there stationed all day to try to catch someone coming in.
Just take a random ride, because it's a random act, if they're not doing it at the same time every day, just take a ride around sometime on a bicycle. You're not gonna recognize somebody on a bicycle.
Well, with Central Berks Regional, we have reached out to their officers there to
I
make
don't
sure.
think they have bikes though.
No, they don't have bikes, but at least to make sure that they're in the area more, especially when we believe it's happening, which is when the kids get out of school.
You should go to St. Lawrence meeting too.
Wow, is there a park up top?
No, I mean, the St. Lawrence Borough, go to one of their meetings and talk like this. I think that might help as well.
Not a resident, he can't talk.
They might let him.
Depends who you know. I've seen Joe at several other meetings.
Anything else, Carl?
I can't see my road, so.
Appreciate your time as always, Carl. Thank you for your thoughtful comments. Next up, Mr. Fred Whitehawk.
Fred Whitehawk, 200 West 47th Street. Speaking on behalf of the Exeter Township Neighborhood Crime Watch. With what's happened at the parks, I'm really glad you brought that up. Okay. We feel, the Crime Watch does, if someone is too afraid to report something, either on Facebook or next door, contact one of our members, and we will contact the appropriate authorities, okay? Because I know that most people want to remain anonymous and not give their names out, but with what's happened over the last few weeks, especially what you're saying, that's what we're at. This is our neighborhood. We want to keep this place safe, okay? And you shouldn't have to fear telling somebody something. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
I appreciate what your group does, and it's growing and does a lot of great things. So credit to you and Karen and whoever else is in the leadership position of the Crime Watch.
I'm just a special spokesman, that's it.
And you're the PR guy. Next up, last but not least, Mr. Glenn Hoover.
Oh, I like this guy.
any of these acres, Birdsburg. I just wanted an update from Sam.
Yeah, Glenn, I spoke to the woman who's doing it for the claim, handling the claim or adjusting the claim for travelers. She's trying to schedule a meeting with the people from Maley, and then she said she'd get back to me after that. So I don't have an update for you other than I spoke to her and that's where we are.
Waiting patiently since April.
I know, I understand.
Yeah, I even saw it on the.
Thank you, Glenn Hoover.
I even saw it on the minutes.
Next up, Supervisor Report. Jeff.
Just wanted to say I'm excited that Survey Monkey is going out. I don't know if Laurie's here, but I know I've talked with her about that. And when I interviewed back in, I guess, April, that was one of the things I wanted to try to do if I got appointed, is to improve communication with residents and try to install surveys both digitally and from an analog standpoint in the library. So I'm happy to see that. I was at Lorraine Hollow again today, so that looks really good. I don't know if that's Mike Rowe and Clarence or some combination, but you and your staff did a great job. That looks great over there. And just again, I'd just like to just follow up on the data center issue we have and see if any of that can be potentially outsourced, because even the Pentagon is putting servers in the cloud. There's a big contract war going on between AWS and Microsoft for that. So I would just like to see if who is our IT provider for the police side? It's separate from our side, right?
No, it's the same, CTN.
Okay, I have that guy's number. He was very helpful, so I'm going to talk with him a little bit too. That's it for me.
Dave.
Just a couple comments. One, at the last meeting we had 2 weeks ago, we discussed a topic on per capita tax. I made a comment at that meeting, Alicia was here at the time, about some of the privacy issues we were facing. Well, it turns out, looking into that, it's a lot more complex than I thought, trying to get a name list and everything else. So that I was incorrect when I made that statement. I was thinking about the EIC tax, which is protected and going by a third party. The per capita tax is not through a third party. So just wanted to correct that for the record, that I was incorrect. Thanks to all the volunteers. Certainly the Crime Watch, the Country Club looked great. There was a very successful wedding there over the weekend.
Yeah.
And I think the place looked, in remarkably good shape. Fountain was working. It hasn't been for a while. And clean.
Yeah, it looked great.
Clean. Also want to thank Mr. Kemp for the bike trail. I mean, I understood his comments. It takes time to do these things and plan for them, but I was just down that trail and I just switched from a mountain bike to a gravel type bike, a hybrid, and when you hit some of the big rocks, I mean, I understand the issue, but it takes time. But I think the trail system is something that residents will enjoy in the future, and I think Clarence and his team will continue to make improvements to that. So,
You want to have the administration give us a report on the per capita tax process next meeting?
yeah, if we could. I mean, some of the challenges, that I've heard in doing that compared to just maybe updating the public on, school tax versus real estate tax versus EIC and per capita, not in any detail, but just some of the challenges that municipalities face and why they do things, and some eliminate per capita taxes.
That's the
And
agenda. We'll take 5 minutes on the agenda next time.
don't have to go into detail, but, there are big differences in both the law reporting and actually enforcing these taxes.
And then transfer policy too. Why don't we
And
talk about that? So next meeting, we'll talk about transfer policy and per capita tax. We'll take a couple minutes on each topic to educate the public there, because I know there's been some noise out there. Vinny.
Couple things. I had a resident who had a outing at the Reading Country Club when the tent was there, and actually they were very pleased with the tent, and they said that they felt like more of the people stayed longer because they were in more of a wide open space, and they were able to have their raffles and everything. They just thought it was really just a great time. So good positive.
Is that the Community Foundation one?
Yeah, the ECF one.
Yeah, Tim and I actually golfed that. Trying to golf that.
It was really good. So
I think, Joe, you golfed too, that tournament.
So, going with the bring up about community and stuff, there is an Exeter Art Council that is starting up. It's partnering with the Exeter Township, but it's not run with the Exeter Township. And they're going to be at the Fall Festival, which I believe is on October 12th, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that Jen? Is that October 12th? Yes,
October 12th. So they're going to be there from like 11 to 3, so you can find out more about it. And they're actually looking to do an event at the Reading Country Club, October 26th, from 9 to 12. And it's I think there's a thing called Urban Sketchers, like down in Philly and stuff. This is Suburban Sketchers. So no talent needed, just show up, bring a pencil, bring some paper, bring paint, draw, photography, your phone, whatever, and it'll go from like 9 to 12, and just, you can just work and stuff.
The date again?
That one's October 26th, from 9 to 12 at the Country Club. So, and then there's more to be planned, you know, with like some more murals and community events to follow, which is, you know, if you, they actually went on a mural tour, and actually I want to, a lot of thanks to, it was Michelle, Clarence, Mike Rowe, I know Will was there, Lori, I'm trying to think who else was there. If I missed them, I apologize, but they were all there doing a mural tour around West Reading and stuff, just to see some of the stuff that they're doing that's betterment to community. So I just think that's it's a good positive happening for Exeter, and I really think having the arts, some type of arts, music, and all that is very important to for this community. So
Thank you, and it also helps us do other things at the Reading Country Club. So it's exciting to get the whole community out there, which is awesome.
it's a beautiful place.
And the only thing I had was make sure everybody comes out to homecoming for the fireworks this Friday. It'll be very exciting, I promise. With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
You want to let us play a game?
Thanks, everyone.